Hello, and welcome to the Appalachian Regional Commission's training video on calculating match rates for ARC projects. ARC's match rates are determined based on the annual county economic status designations. You can see here the maximum ARC and minimum match requirements for each of the status designations, and a map of the Appalachian counties along with their economic statuses. The different colors indicate the different statuses. So how do we calculate the match requirements? With single county projects, it's easy. You just use the match rate assigned to the county for that year. With multi-county projects, generally the project will take an average of the rates for all counties impacted by the project. But there are some special cases that we'll talk more about in a second. Here's an example of how to calculate the average match rate if fewer than half the counties in the project service area are distressed and/or at risk. Here we have two distressed and three transitional counties with match rates of 80 and 50. Add all those match rates together and you get 310 divided by 5 counties is 62% as the maximum ARC amount and 38% as the match rate. So, as we just saw, generally for multi-county projects, you can use the average match percentage of all the counties involved. However, there are a couple of cases where we have special rules for determining the match rate of a multi-county project. If at least half your project's counties are designated as distressed, ARC can fund up to 80% of the total project cost. If your project involves a distressed county and at least half the counties are either designated as distressed or at risk, ARC can fund up to 70% of the project cost. If your project involves a distressed county, but fewer than half the counties involved are designated as distressed, ARC can fund up to 50% of the project cost or the average match percentage of the counties involved, whichever is higher. If your project does not involve any distressed counties and at least half the counties are designated at risk, and it does not include counties that are designated as competitive or attainment, ARC can fund up to 70% of the project cost. Again, if none of these scenarios apply to your project, just use the average percentage of the county's match rates. If your project involves an attainment county and does not involve distressed counties, ARC will not fund the portion of the project that serves the attainment county, and activities there cannot be counted towards the match requirement. If you're more of a visual learner, here's a flowchart that illustrates all the cases I just mentioned. Is there a distressed county involved in the project? If yes, and more than half the counties are distressed, ARC funding can be 80%. If not, and at least half of the counties are distressed or at risk, use ARC 70% or the county average, whichever is higher. If half are not, use ARC 50% or the county average. If there are no distressed counties and at least half the counties are at risk, and there are no competitive or attainment counties, use ARC 70% or the county average. If no distressed counties and half are not at risk, use the county average. We know that all this is a lot to take in and get right, so that's why we created our handy dandy match rate calculator tool. It's an Excel tool with a how-to video. All you need to do is input the counties of your project into the tool and their economic status and total project cost, and voila, the maximum ARC and minimum match amounts will automatically be calculated for you. It's a great way to help you determine the match rate in a tricky multi-county situation. Now, about match commitment letters. We need all your match to be documented through a commitment letter from the match source. It needs to be on letterhead or a copy of an official document. It needs to include a few things: the dollar amount or dollar value of in-kind committed, a signature of an authorized individual, and if it's in-kind, it needs to have a description of the in-kind and how its value was determined. If the match takes the form of in-kind real estate, you need to attach a copy of an MAI appraisal of the property. An important thing to note here: if you're contributing in-kind match, you must track it once the project starts. For example, using timesheets for personnel hours, and report on this to ARC as a part of your regular reporting. Also important to note is when match is contributed to the project, it becomes subject to federal regulations, just as ARC funding is. Here are a couple of takeaways from this video. First, ARC match rates are determined by the county economic status designations that ARC publishes each fiscal year. Second, for single county projects, you simply use the match rate assigned for that county. For multi-county projects, take a look at the special matching rules, and if none of those situations apply to you, just average up all the county economic statuses. Finally, use ARC tools and resources to identify and calculate your match rate, such as our match rate calculator. Here is some contact information for ARC in case you may need it. If you have any follow-up questions or need further assistance, please reach out to us. Thank you for watching.